You know, there's a quiet revolution happening in women's wellness, but it's not happening in some fancy lab. It's happening in dispensaries and it's happening in living rooms. Today, we're going to dive into this massive shift and ask, why are millions of women turning to cannabis for relief?
So let's start with a number, and it's a huge one, 1 billion. That is the unbelievable number of women around the world dealing with gynecologic pain. This isn't some small niche issue. It's a global health crisis that, for way too long, has just been swept under the rug.
And we're not talking about just a little bit of discomfort here. For the 1 in 10 women who have conditions like endometriosis, the pain can be completely debilitating. It makes them miss work, it ruins their sleep, it basically puts their entire life on hold. As one expert put it, they literally can't live their lives.
Now, how did we get here? Well, it's not exactly a new story. For decades, women's pain has been dismissed or just plain misunderstood by the medical world. I mean, for a long time, medical research basically used men as the default, which left women's health issues completely under-researched. So even though women suffer from chronic pain more than men, they've really struggled to find real solutions. And that gap? That's where this whole movement started to grow.
And all of this has sparked this really powerful, patient-led movement. Women are done waiting around. They're taking their health into their own hands, they're exploring alternatives, and cannabis has emerged as a major player.
So who exactly is the face of this revolution? I think the answer is going to surprise you. Get this, a dispensary owner over in Tulsa, Oklahoma, she laid it out perfectly. Her average customer isn't who you might picture. It's a 54-year-old woman. And this isn't just some random thing happening in Tulsa. It's a snapshot of what's happening all across the country.
So, what's bringing them through the door? Well, it's all the relentless symptoms that can come with menopause and big hormonal shifts. We're talking about everything from hot flashes and night sweats to mood swings, trouble sleeping, and just chronic nagging pain. All the things where traditional medicine has often fallen short.
But let's dig in a little deeper. Why cannabis for these specific, life stage challenges?
For a lot of women, the answer is actually pretty simple. The conventional stuff just isn't cutting it. They're out there looking for treatments that don't just work, but also feel safer and more natural than the usual prescriptions.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures that frustration. It's that vague, all over what is even happening to my body kind of pain that so many women just silently put up with. And that's exactly what's pushing them to find better answers.
Okay, so with this huge surge in interest, it is absolutely crucial that we look at the science and the safety. What does the research actually tell us? Well, it's kind of a mix of really exciting potential and some really important things to be careful about.
Right, so it's super important to remember that cannabis isn't just one thing. It's got hundreds of different compounds in it called cannabinoids. Now, THC, that's the famous one that causes the high, but researchers are getting incredibly excited about the other ones, like CBD, that don't get you high at all. These non-intoxicating cannabinoids are showing so much promise for treating things like pain and inflammation, and that's where a ton of new clinical studies are focused.
But of course, one of the absolute biggest questions that always comes up is about safety during pregnancy. And this is a really complex, sensitive topic that researchers are, approaching very, very carefully.
The medical consensus right now is pretty clear. We just need more research. Some data suggests there could be risks to a developing baby, but the evidence isn't totally conclusive yet. And the risks seem to depend on what kind of cannabis is used, how often, and at what point during the pregnancy. So until we have better answers, healthcare professionals are all saying the same thing. Be extremely cautious and have an open, honest conversation with your doctor.
This whole movement is also part of a much bigger cultural shift in how we think about wellness. We're seeing more and more women making a conscious choice to reach for cannabis instead of, say, a glass of wine to unwind at the end of the day. And this trend has actually led to the rise of the Cannamom, a mother who chooses cannabis over alcohol to relax. And for them, this isn't about getting high. It's a deliberate wellness choice.
And this choice is happening at a really interesting time. The U.S. Surgeon General recently issued a pretty stark warning about the link between alcohol and cancer. So a lot of people are rethinking their habits. And for some of them, cannabis, with its different risk profile and decreasing stigma, is starting to look like a more appealing option. So what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean? Well, this isn't just about cannabis. It's about women demanding better, more personalized healthcare that actually works for them. At its core, this whole thing is a movement about empowerment. Women are done being quiet. They're sharing their stories, and they are demanding to be seen, to be heard, and to be treated effectively by the medical system. And this quote, it just brings everything back to the human level.
We started this whole thing with that mind-boggling number, 1 billion. But let's end with the story of just one woman whose life was changed. For her, finding something that worked wasn't just a small improvement. It was, in her words, a game changer.
And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. With a billion women out there searching for relief and actually finding it in places traditional medicine has pretty much ignored, could this patient-led movement really be showing us the future of women's wellness?